Hello everybody, my name is Matt and you're watching James Simulations. Today I'm going to be doing a arrival into Toncontin International Airport in Tegucigalpa, Honduras, which is a very famous airport. Probably going to put this in the series of interesting approaches. It won't be titled that because it's not really like a searchable title, so it'll be named something, and then it'll be put in that interesting approach series. Anyway, so I'm gonna put these. I'm gonna put those stats away. Anyway, so I've been flying from Atlanta for a few hours now. It was about 2,000 miles, I believe. And anyway, we are just on our way to Honduras here. It's actually a virtual airline flight right now, so I have 8 cars running in the back right now, which is aircraft communications and reporting system, which is sending information back to the virtual airline as we speak, and at the end we'll send it off. But now basically I just want to focus on this airport and this approach, just to give some information and stuff about it. We are just coming up on top of descent, so we have a little bit of time left, still about 134 miles to go, but really not that much. I'll show you here in the on the map here. Everything really gets up nice and close after we pass our next waypoint. Basically, the reason why this is a really interesting approach is because it's very high altitude. So already, as you can see, I have the terrain map up. We're already 7,900 feet. And that doesn't even account for mountains. That just accounts for the ground being that high. It's quite odd because I guess it's mountains. Over here there's mountainous regions with valleys in them. A lot like Quito, Ecuador, which is another interesting approach, which I'll probably do. You can see there's a coast and it just kind of comes up into mountains over here. And there's a valley right down there. And then more mountains around there. As you can see, highest point right now is about 8,600 and the median is about 4,500, so that's quite high. And this airport is situated, just apart from regular flying, this airport is actually situated in a valley around a bunch of mountains, so it's a very interesting approach. It's the RNAV 02 approach that we're going to be doing. I'm just setting our MCP altitude down to what it's supposed to be at for now, just so that when we reach our top of descent we can get that going. We're going to have to be at 13,071 miles about, so we'll get that down to 13,000. I'll have to slow down a lot on the way down. We might as well start it now. As soon as we hit it, depending on what our rate is, I'm going to probably put on vertical speed just to maintain ourselves, because it's a very there's a lot of altitude constraints because of all the mountains. Therefore I want to get down there as soon as possible to be able to maintain those altitudes, because we don't want to be passing. Basically, I don't want to pass our next waypoint still having to descend more. That's kind of the objective. So just pulling back throttles now, and our aircraft starting to descend. Just going to see where exactly it expects us to hit 13,000. You can see it's way out right now, but it'll start to come in, and hopefully it will go right onto Tala. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna close my door. Alright, so back here, as you can see, our aircraft is kind of just about to make it. We're going to want to be at about 8,000 for TNT. As you can see, that Melville waypoint right there, that's actually going to be the sounds like I live in a kennel, my dog, sorry. Melville is the missed approach So Melvo is what we will be going to on the way back if we miss the approach, which is quite possible, so we're going to prepare for that. Otherwise, it looks like it'll just get to 13,000 nice and early. I'm going to try and get down to 10,000, 10,800 maybe. Sorry about that again. So as you can see, with our current rate of descent, we're really not going to be as far and make it as far as we want to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull our throttle all the way back if it wasn't already. I didn't actually even check. I was using ADC, but that's just because I have Ultimate Traffic 2. And with Ultimate Traffic 2, yeah, as you can see, our throttle is already all the way down. And we're at such a high N1 percentage because we're actually, our nose is pointed downwards, therefore it's taking in more air. See, it's just affecting itself to maintain what it's trying to do. So what I'll do here now is I'll just have it maintain 3,200 feet per second, and I'll take off VNAV and just keep it on LNAV, just to make sure that I get the necessary things. Probably after Talag, I will just be flying hand. So I'm gonna move my mic real quick. Just because it's going to be easier at that point to not rely on me inputting values, it's going to rely on me actually flying, which will be better. Also, a danger of this airport is that the fact that in this airport, because we are so high altitude, our aircraft performs much worse. So what we're going to do for our approach, I'm going to be using full flaps to have as much lift as we can. I found it easier to land in this airport particularly the last time I flew here, with the highest percentage or the highest rate of flaps. It just helped me out more with the extra lift that was provided by the flaps. So now that we're just sitting here really doing nothing, what I'll do is, because oh yeah, that was extended. I'll leave that extended. I'm just gonna get the aircraft prepped to go, because after this waypoint, it's really extremely high intensity. So that keeps popping up. Like I said, I was flying that, but now I'm not, because I just use it for purposes of Ultimate Traffic 2 to keep the traffic nice and spaced. But after we hit Talag, it'll be a relatively high intensity workload. So I'm just trying to get everything that we can ready for now, so that when we're flying, we really don't have anything to worry about other than the actual flying itself. So by the time we hit 10,800, just before Talag, we're going to try and, as we descend lower and lower, we will be hitting thicker air, and because of a higher density, and more, obviously more air molecules, O2 on top of the O2 that's on the bottom, higher pressure. We're just going to have more atoms that we have to push through, therefore it's going to be higher drag. We're going to wait till we, as you can see, as we start to get lower and lower to the atmosphere, our speed will start to decrease. Obviously, because we have such a high rate of descent right now, it will not necessarily increase, but as a whole we'll need more thrust to maintain the same speed. So that speed brake is still armed. Yes, still in flight. Just gonna keep it there just to be able to help us get down faster. That helps out with the speed. I'm gonna try as soon as we hit about 11,000. What I'll do is I will disengage the slats, and I will just hand fly it from there, trying to get a little bit slower until we dip down into 10,000 feet, so we're not going past the speed limit. Very smooth, very smooth frames per second right now. I haven't really seen any air. I've flown into here. I flew in here last night again, or I flew in here last night just as a prep for today, just to see if I could do it, and it went well. Like I said, just if you want to try this, keep it to the lower aircraft, because I flew here and then I landed in a 7.5 and I tried to do it again in a 777 because I wanted to see what the range of aircraft was, like what I could what I could do and what I couldn't do. And here we just passed our I don't know what you want to call it. Here, what I'll do, let's go. So we have no airports. So what I'll do is I'll tune to the center, and what I'll do is in a flight following, he's going to give me a altimeter, hopefully. Anyway, 777 was far too large. No, he's just giving us a squawk code. 777 was far too large, but the 7.5 was alright, so I just decided to go a step down lower so that we can have a little bit more maneuverability. It's altimeter 292. Interesting. That's normal though, because it's a that's normal. I mean, if there's nothing going on with the barometric altimeter, it should be 299.2 because I have it set to fair weather, so there shouldn't be much variation on that. So I'm just canceling it. You know, he's just telling us to squawk VFR. No big deal. Freaking check approved, whatever. Okay, beautiful. I might just disconnect it now, yeah. And I'll silence that. So my warnings are actually, for some reason, the warnings are going outside on the speakers of the computer, while everything else, the cockpit, is going to my headphones. Anyway, what we're doing is we're going to be able to, what we're doing right now is we're pulling back on the stick. Even though it's going to decrease our descent rate, what it's going to do is it's going to bring down our N1 percentage. As you can see, it's already dropped at least 3%, and it's bringing down our airspeed so that we'll be able to pick up a faster descent rate in the long run. As you can see, we are already picking up a faster descent rate from what we started out with. And we need to be above 8,000 for the next one, for the next waypoint. I don't know if this aircraft is actually shows that or not, but what we'll do is we'll keep this keep that up there in order to make sure that we're maintaining that 8,000 for TNT, which is quite a ways away, 25 miles. So what I'll do is I will maintain 8,000 on just by trimming out the plane, and we'll have more than enough time to we'll have much more than sufficient amount of time to slow down. So I'm just gonna trim out right here. Seems to be good. Here's some here you go. Small guy, I don't know. Toncontin approach, we'll just tune to them. We're not going to, the thing is that the default FSX ATC sucks, so I'm not going to be using it. Anyway, we know 8,000, whatever, we can keep that close. If we'll just what we'll do is we'll set 8,000 into our altitude. So therefore, if we go down past 8,000, we'll get an alert. The nose is dipping down just because I released the tension off the stick. But I'm going to trim a little bit higher now, and we'll maintain the nose here, and then we'll dip below 10,000. Oh, I'm already past 10,000 feet, whatever. My bad. But really, that many is not going to be a big deal. So now we're going to take off the speed brake and then just arm it, so it's not actually deployed at this point. Our flap speed is going to be 250, so we're going to get these flaps in really early. You know, it's just going to be the best for us if we have these flaps in earlier in order to maintain a relatively slow speed. So as you can see, our N1 is starting to decrease again, like I said it would. And what we're doing is we're going to add our thrust in order to maintain this altitude. As you can see, the vertical speed indicator will start to rise here in a second. And we're still 16 miles away from TNT, so less than halfway there. It's actually 25 miles, so we'll be halfway there in about 2 miles or so. So we're just waiting, and we have to be above 8,000. Just as far as you can see, there's all these mountains on the side of us. that one really close. So, and by the way, on this approach, we're going to have tons of warnings, and I don't have any special scenery for this. So unfortunately, we're just going to have to deal with default. I could have gone and gotten the freeware one, but I just slipped my mind and I didn't do it. So I apologize for that, and just going to have to deal with the default scenery. So anyway, the FS Passengers flight should be coming soon. I asked Jason to do it. He hasn't responded yet, but I mean, sometimes it's spring break right now, and there's no problem. He's not responding. He's probably enjoying relaxing, and that's fine. I understand. So I might just do that. I mean, I have a lot of time tonight because I got off practice early because I have a game tomorrow. So I might just do that tonight. So you might just see that video later tonight. So now we're coming up into Tegucigalpa, Honduras, and you can see the runway right below us, and we're right above our altitude constraint. So we're just going to maintain that for now. And we're still only, we're only going to dip down to 7,600 for the next one. So it's really not going to be a big change. What the approach is just got to keep the nose up here, just to maintain 8,000. Set my mind. What's going to be happening here is going to be a left turn to almost a 360-degree turn. It's actually what would be a 180, would it not? That would be almost a 360. Here you got a positive climb. Now we can kind of roll off the excess thrust. So what we're going to do is we're going to do almost a 360, and then we're going to come back around for a quick turn in over these mountainside right here. These mountainsides right here. So clearly we're getting a little bit closer to that altitude. We're going to still keep that thrust in there in order to stay away from that altitude because we don't want it. We should be able to maintain it with just thrust. No need for the nose because our nose is going to affect our speed, and we don't want our speed to change at this point. Just going to take a look outside the plane. Really, really good. My computer is really well with the 737 NGX. I don't know why. It does much better with the NGX than it does with the 777, which is kind of odd. You'd think that as it goes on, they would get better. Actually, you know what? That's not true. I could have just been having an off day with my computer yesterday. So yesterday, because I was flying the 777 in this area of the world. Like I said, I was trying to land it here. That didn't go out very well at all because the aircraft's so large. But you're just turning left here. Should be switching to the next waypoint fairly shortly. And now we're going to dip down to 7,600 for this one. So now we can go below 8,000 now, but I'll maintain above it. And get a tighter turn here, almost 40-degree turn. Sorry, somebody's FaceTiming me, my friend. I will. He's also a pilot too. If you're watching this video, hello. But I will have to keep that for later because we are actually flying. And I'm just going to be flying this right now. For some reason, it's not showing. As you can see, we're gaining a little bit of altitude, so I'm just going to pull the throttle here. But it didn't pick up that we passed the next waypoint, so we're just going to follow this line. There's no big deal with just following the line because the line is what we're supposed to be doing. So by TG015, I know we're a little bit off, but there's no need to just do crazy degree turns when we're not actually onto the approach side of it yet. So you can see this is actually a valley in here. Obviously the other side would probably be a much more straight-in approach. Not too much of a craziness, but that's less fun. So let's not do that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to descend past down to 7,600 feet, and set up straight to TG015. So you can see I set straight to that waypoint because it did not pick us up on the last one. So I'm just going to maintain our speed here. Our VREF is below, is very low speed. We're going to want to use that in order to reduce our turning radius, in order to get that last turn, because it's going to be a really sharp turn to get into that that runway there. So we're going to need all that that low speed in order to turn that quickly. And got a Cessna coming in with us. Toncontin approach. Got a Mooney coming in as well. Don't really see him. I don't have him on the TCAS either, so no big deal. Here we're coming down to 7,000. We really need to, right now, we need to pay attention to the altitude constraints, because what will happen is up here, we will get a really quick descent in here, and it's going to be really difficult to stay where we need to be as far as altitude. I remember I came in the 777, like I said, and I ended up having to go 2 times around, and on the first time I was far too high, and on the second time I wasn't able to make the turn fast enough, and I just kind of clipped the ground. That's actually really embarrassing, but I'm not gonna lie, the 777 is far too big to be doing that approach. The problem is that the turn radius of that aircraft is just not sufficient to make the turn, and I just couldn't get it out. You know, and also the ceiling was actually 2,000 feet. So maybe on a better day, like this one, I could land it. But then again, you know, we're gonna pretend like we're real pilots, and we would never land the 777 at Tegucigalpa. It's just no reason for it. As you can see, I'm very honest with you guys. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really, you know, if you guys think I'm a bad pilot, then you think I'm a bad pilot. But I'm not gonna lie and say that I didn't, because I did, and that's okay. It's, you know, there's no problem with acknowledging your mistakes. It's all fine. Gonna come down to flaps 20. Oh, I thought it was a 20. There's flaps 2 setting them. That's my bad. Here we're gonna come down to flaps 10. Just to keep that lift up. Still need to be above 7,000 for this next waypoint. We're still 5 miles away, so like, you know, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We have kind of a high angle of attack, so it wouldn't be too dumb to get a little bit of more thrust in here. So pretty much ready to go. We just have to maintain our altitudes. That's really all that we have left as far as now. The next altitude constraint we have is 6,776. I started that term way too early there, sorry. So we're going to have to stay above 6,700 for the next few waypoints, and then we're going to have to really do a steep descent. I'll show you here. I'll take my hand off the yoke for a second. You can see then we're going to have to take a really quick descent to get there. As you can see, we're not that low here, or we're not that high. This is just, you know, sorry, hit my mic again. You know, this is just the airport. This is just the approach. It's how it happened. It's how they designed the airport. Not designed the airport, but this is, you know, in this part of the world, when you have a really extremely high altitude place in the world, you kind of have to make do with what you have and create these kind of interesting approaches in order to, sorry, it gives me warnings every time I put my throttle to idle, which is what I really need to do at some points. It's giving me 250. Not the TG 15, which we've already passed in about a second. So I'm going to keep the speed up here. And coming through, let's make this turn. Gonna have to maintain this altitude, so putting a lot more power here. I'm making these turns early, just to keep clear of these large mountains. As you can see, what we're really doing around the airport, we're just kind of doing like a circle around the airport, coming in on this side, as the other side is not possible. Now we're gonna have to descend down to 6,700. It's very important that we stay above the altitude constraint, yet staying as close as we can without breaking it, because we really need to be able to get our descent as quick as possible. After this, we really have no altitude constraints. It's just going to be all visual. We're still about 2,400 feet off the ground, so we're going to have to get down to 1,000 or so before we, as soon as we possibly can. Okay, I came below the altitude constraint, but we're going to maintain here. and get a little bit higher. That dang warning again. I just kept my nose a little bit too low. You know, that the thing is that these things happens. I mean, these things happen. You know, I might get bashed in the comments for it, but you know, that happens sometimes. Obviously, it's not an optimal situation, but you can't, you know, you can't strive for. I mean, you want to strive for perfection, and you know, aim for good enough. Not good enough, but as well as you can. You don't need to be perfect. You know, as long as you're getting the aircraft safely on the ground and not, you know, being radical, then you know, you're doing it right. So if you're trying to do this approach, don't get down on yourself if you do what I just did. Clearly, you know, I have 500 hours in the sim and I still make these mistakes, so it's no big deal. We're going down full flaps to 40. That's just our warning for our gear. So the gear's coming down now. And we'll still all red. Now we'll go flaps full in order to just make sure that we're having flaps full. There you go, 3 green. Now we're pretty much set to land. We're just gonna be. We have full flaps. We're set to land. We're just gonna need to hit VREF. I'm gonna keep about VREF plus 10 here, or plus say 6 or 5 or 6, just in order to keep that. Gonna still start turning into Goosey Gappy. As you can see, a lot of this is going to be visual. I mean, a lot of this is going to be visual. Obviously, this is not an IS approach, but a lot of the rest of this is going to be a visual approach. We're going to need to use our visual knowledge. These waypoints are what we're supposed to be following, but you know, they're only as good as what they're good for. If we see that we're coming in a little bit too low or a little bit too high, or we're not coming in with a big enough bank or whatever, we have to adjust to get into the airport safely. But I'm going to keep my eye on the instruments just in order to make sure that we're getting in safely and with a good enough turn to be able to make be enough room to make the turn, which is what my problem with the 777 was, really nailing the VREF right here. As you can see, I'm still have that problem with kind of turning a little bit early, and that's exactly what I do in the 777. I turned it a little bit too early, which was my problem. As you can see, we're coming up real close now. I'm going to do a little bit of a turn outwards to be able to come inwards here, because it really is a very extremely close approach. And what I'll start doing is I'll start coming out, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to come in now, because like I said, it's very visual from now on. It's really not going to be any not going to be much following the instruments from now. It's going to be a lot of visual. Just keeping the eye on the speed. The speed's good. Altitude's good. Now we're really going to start to turn in real hard here. We want to keep ourselves a little bit high so that we're not clipping the ground like I did in the 777. It's kind of like Kai-Tak, but in South America. I have to say, here's actually an aircraft on the runway. So what I'll do is I'll just turn that off, because I'm sorry, I should have been using autopilot. This is why I use not autopilot. I should have been using ATC. That's why I use ATC with ultimate traffic, so I don't do things like that. But you know, like I said, you know, it kind of gets in the way of the video. So here, coming down, and I'm just gonna pull out all that thrust because we're still a little bit high, and we're gonna just put this baby on the ground real quick. And we're just going to press on these brakes as hard as possible. Really far down the threshold, but no big deal. It's going to go on the pirate now, as really far from the threshold. But that is RNAV approach 02 into Tegucigalpa, Honduras. Very interesting, which is why it's in this series. Very challenging, I have to say. It's kind of hard to fly. I'm actually going to do a replay here from the outside view from the tower so we can get a nice view. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off the audio here as soon as we get into our gate. Anyways, you can see here's the 8 cars just talking in the background. As you can see, the terrain is going crazy. There is terrain on all sides of us. Let's turn these spoilers down and get these flaps up. So it's an interesting approach. It's a lot of fun. It's a very high intensity. I can tell you I was very nervous in that. just keeping the altitude up. As you can see, I kept a little bit too much thrust in there. I landed really far down the runway. In the sim, it's not that big of a deal, but it will be if you're flying in, you know, the actual in the real world. So, you know, not, like I said, not executed perfectly. Definitely not perfect. You know, there's a lot of mistakes I made in there, but luckily I was able to fix them enough to get the aircraft safely on the ground. And that's really all that we all us simmers have to do. You know, you obviously can mess around with this approach however you like. It's really fun to do, like I said. So, I mean, I'm probably just going to spend my the rest of my day here, or doing that video, the other video I was talking about. But I'm probably going to spend some time here just messing around with the biggest aircraft that I can get to land on here. Maybe we'll be able to see Tegucigalpa video like I did in the St. Martin video where we did the landings. Probably going to have another video like that for this airport, where you guys can see all this huge aircraft trying to land at this airport. And I think it'll be some good fun. So, if you want to see that, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, we're just going to finish taxiing to the gate. You know, we'll taxi right into this parking right here. There's no need to keep this video longer than it has to be. I appreciate you guys watching. If you liked it, please leave a thumbs up. If you want to see more things like this, please let me know. If you want to support this this series, just leave a like in the video and we'll know that you guys want to see more of the interesting approaches that we share with you guys in order to increase the fun of your simulator. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want more, subscribe and come see next video. Like I said, I'll try to get that other video out today, and it'll be fun, and I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, have a good day, and I'll see you next time.